So, have you ever heard a song and been like, yo, this artist was like channeling my brain? Like they were in tune with me. This song was written about me. So I found this song. And yeah, let's just get right into this.
Crap, I gotta do the dishes too! I ain't doing dishes! I ain't doing dishes! I ain't doing dishes!
I saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
For roping? I like that.
You're a jabroni.
Go ahead!
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday night. It's What the Show. My name is AJ Lancaster. I feel like that just got us a copyright strike.
It's a psycho stick. We're not getting your copyright.
They couldn't even come up with a name for their album. You think they're gonna? They think they got lawyers looking to copyright strike us? No.
Gonna go in the history books of one of the silliest ways we got DMCA'd.
Well, I mean, we've had worse. We've had worse.
Yeah.
To be
Oh, yeah.
honest.
That'll be fine.
That'll be fine.
Like
What's
30
up, where the
seconds.
Beacons? Of course, we are two of the hosts here alongside the illustrious Justin the
Just in the
Jews.
juice. Woo, 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 woo.
Coming at you, ready to talk music and all of the wonderful.
And to be clear, not the
Other
god awful
things.
Sia movie.
No.
Oh,
Like just
no.
music, as in things.
That would have been a
think
good
you're
idea for
wrong.
the show, though.
It would have been.
Hey, we didn't tell AJ that. I think he thought we were doing something else tonight.
Sorry,
I
AJ.
watched
How much
it
you
3
love that?
times.
I know how much you love that movie. I know it's one of your personal faves.
So here's the fucking thing with autism. And we have the Rob Fishbeck Network here tonight.
Yeah, special guest. When you
How's
think
it going, everybody?
There
Yeah,
it
how's
is.
it going?
Great. It's great. We have Della. We have our cousin Rob.
Della, first time on the show.
Yeah,
Welcome.
that's Della's first time on the
Long-
show. That's true.
Long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while. The funniest thing is we used to have during the pandemic Zooms, and AJ would do 2 things as I was leaving. He would say, "I love you," and then he would go, "Come on, what the show?" And then, like, as soon as I'm like hitting goodbye, or he would do it before he left. It was like a long running bit. So I'm glad to actually finally be on the show.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
bit. It's finally. It's like that. We don't have time for Matt Damon. We just
Yeah,
never had time
we
for you.
ran out of time.
We finally have time for you. That's what it is. That's
Love you, baby
true.
girl.
Hi, Lego. We love you.
So-
I gotta say real quick on that song that you played, Mike. The
Yeah.
first thing I thought of is the "What's Up, Denny's"
Yeah.
video.
What's up, Eddie?
where
What the fuck is up?
yeah, it's definitely the follow up to "What the Fuck's Up, Denny's."
So a crazy thing. Years back, I used to play in a band, and I actually opened for Psycho Stick once. So I played
Oh,
with that
nice.
band. They were one of the
Man.
dumbest band in the best way possible, like the dumbest band you could have ever seen live. And it was so much fun. They probably 100 people there, maybe, but just an insanely fun night. Yeah.
Before we get completely off topic, we do cold opens and hard closes. So we're gonna get to some important things first. One, we're gonna let you find Jen's plug, and then 2, we're gonna talk charity, and then we're just gonna go absolutely batshit off the rails.
I love not having to do show prepper notes for a show. This is great.
Yeah.
It's a great change of pace for
We
me.
rarely
That's
do
the
that.
what the show promise, honestly.
Last time we had an outline was 2021.
Yeah.
It was like our third stream.
Yeah.
We're over
Yeah.
200.
Yeah.
Rob and I have like hour-long meetings, and we legit put way too much thought and emphasis into our stuff. So, and then we end up going off the cuff.
Yeah.
We throw it out the
Talking
window.
to DJ who does emojis, and Mostly because I was trying to get booked on the show. Well, he very graciously, a channel mate of me and Sarah's, he came on to our show Know It or Blow It, which cousin Rob was on the pilot, as we all know, and our dear friend Justin the Juice. And now AJ has been, look at me, I'm doing plugs at the beginning. But anyways, so most of the people on this stream have been Adele. If you ever let us know what you want trivia, and we'll write you a match. But DJ came on our lovely show, and so afterwards I said, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I want to come on your show. And this man is so prepared for life, y'all. He has things like planned out for the next like 6 months, and I'm like, my dude can't relate. And he's like, let me see here, and he's like pulling up notes, and I'm like, who are you? I just do things on a wing and a prayer.
You have notes.
We have a lot of RFN meetings. Lego does not like the RFN meetings.
Lego, we respect that. What the show?
I'd love to see that. Like, if you had like a Patreon exclusive, you could watch the meeting. Like,
Honestly,
yeah. So, well, so it's interesting you guys bring this up because this is like the first year. Well, so on Characters of Culture, we usually try to have like an overarching theme for the year.
Right.
This will kind of be like my plug for the channel. Like we did the Decades in Film series 2 years ago. Last year we did a lot of TV stuff. So this year we actually just had a meeting a couple of weeks ago and sketched out the year. We're going to be focusing on each individual movie studio, kind of the history of the studio, some of our favorite movies from each studio. And then me and Delacommon happened to be shooting the breeze, and we kind of etched out like the next couple months of Elder Millennials Behind the Counter. So those are the shows I'm on over on the RFN. Go check it out. Yeah, we've been getting a lot of new subs. So growth.
And AJ's yawning, but he's very interested in all of that.
No.
And you've been getting growth, and we've had 198 subscribers for like a year and a half.
That's what we are here.
We got to get you guys to 200 tonight on this show.
We have been at 198 for so fucking long.
Tonight is the night, baby. It's happening.
The funniest thing is our growth came from boomers of all people. So we're like, it's not like we're getting the hot young crowd. We got like the ridiculous growth out there.
Hey,
what the fuck is up,
Beatles,
Denny's?
That is a really great crowd to have. Y'all, I got a really sweet, this is not supposed to be for me to plug things, I swear to God, but I got a really sweet message for my podcast that I do. Hey, Spinnerbait. You can listen wherever podcasts are available. But this lady messaged us the sweetest thing today, and it made me want to cry, like legitimately. Like, she's had surgery, and she's had a lot of anxiety after her surgery, and she messaged us to let us know that she's been binge listening to our podcast, and it's like the only thing that's been able to help her relax, and she just wanted to thank us. And I was like, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said.
Tear as you're reading.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, thank you. So it just really warmed my heart, and I just had to share that. All right, AJ, speaking of things that warm hearts, what is our charity of the month? And
I have that actually.
Really hold on. Mike is actually going to be the one telling us about our charity.
We're doing this on behalf of our old buddy Kevin Smets.
Yes.
It's going to go to ccalliance.org, which is the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. Obviously, Kevin is a survivor, which we are all very, very happy for. Could not be prouder of everything he did. What an inspiration his story is, and now he's fighting the good fight for everybody. Who making awareness and getting everybody to bound together to help anybody who happens to have this terrible cancer. And anything that we do get for the month of February, we'll go to that. If you want to donate on your own, it's ccalliance.org.
Yes,
that's awesome. Heck yeah.
Good cause. Much love.
Perfect. So let's start music. I wanted to start this like kind of little baseline question for everybody here. I want to know what everybody's first concert they ever went to was and their most recent.
Yeah. Okay. I think I got it. I'm really having to think my first.
I can take the lead. So the first actual concert I ever went to was a Beatles cover band. My dad took me and my sister Helen to go see American English at the Lincoln Way Central Theater Auditorium, the high school that I went to. Probably seats, I don't know, I want to say maybe like 1,000 people, something like that, 800. It was freaking awesome. I was in 6th grade. I'd never seen a live thing before, and they came out, and I don't remember what song they opened with, but it was like early Beatles, and I just like that's one of the 10 moments in my life, like a jolt of electricity shot through me totally. But the first actual real artist was Toby Keith, 2007. Rest in peace. Most recent concert I went to was my 7th time seeing Bruce Springsteen at Wrigley Field. last year. So yes.
That's cool.
Awesome. Della?
Historical artist, historical venue.
So I will preface this by saying like post pandemic, I have not seen a whole lot of shows. So myself
Right.
is
Same here, honestly.
yeah, like it's just different now. And also I live in, for those who don't know, I live near Indianapolis, Indiana. So it's hit and miss whether you're gonna get a good show.
Free market,
My
yeah.
first yeah. So the first concert I went to, this is a little bit of a flex to a lot of people. I saw the Smashing Pumpkins on their Machine of God tour. It was like the last tour that had essentially the lineup. I mean, I think Darcy had left, then they replaced it with the bassist from Hole. But otherwise, I saw that at the Elliott Hall of Music in 8th grade
Nice.
on the campus of Purdue University. And it was like, when you say your first concert and you say Smashing Pumpkins in that era,
That's a
fantastic.
good one.
People are like, man, that's cool.
Last one I think I saw that I remember, because there's a lot of times where I just end up going to see either my friends' bands or something like that. The actual thing, the singer Charles Bradley, if you knew who he was this really great soul singer that kind of had this weird resurgence way later in his life. Like he only had like probably a 10-year run because he was that old when he popped off. There's a great documentary about his life. Saw him live at the Vogue in Indianapolis, and it was fantastic. And it's one of my favorite like vocal. It's like just I can't.
Did he play Changes that night, the Ozzy Osbourne song? Dude, fuck yeah.
Love that song.
Yeah, he was fantastic. So those were the first and the last one.
AJ, what's yours?
I mean, first was a local Christian rock band in the Hastings, Nebraska area called After the Order.
Yeah.
But nationwide tour act isn't much better. It was Lifehouse.
Hey, no shade to Lifehouse.
I think I know what your most recent was.
Some shade.
Yeah, that one, that Metallica show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
We were together for that
Can
one.
we just
So
give a brief moment to talk about Williams first? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
yeah.
That's a flex.
What is that with Skipping Stones? Shredder or no.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, out of the
Was
shell
it
store.
Does
Which-
it when he has the I Hate Music?
Does
I
song?
hate
Shredder have the height? Oh, that should have been.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Maybe we should like
Look at the worst.
cold close with that.
I hate
Oh, yeah.
music. I think it's the worst.
After we talk about music for a good hour, we're just gonna end
Yeah.
it with a song about hating music. When you hate music so much, we put it into song. That makes sense.
I'm a fraud.
Wait, do I know? I think I know. I know your last concert is Metallica. But we're gonna play
No,
a game.
it's not. It's not.
Oh yeah, your last concert is when you just went to.
I went
Pantera.
I went last week. I went back to back nights. I went to Tampa. The first night I saw Static X, Seven Dust, and Dope.
Know your
And the very next night I saw Pantera, Lamb of God, and Nest. So yeah, that was literally a week and a half ago. So
You
yeah,
like
I'm very,
went
very-
full new metal and then you went actual metal, like
Yeah,
right
exactly.
back to back.
Is your first? Wait, am I right? Is
Oh, my
it,
first is funny.
Is it New Kids on the
It
Block?
is.
Yes. Okay, I
So,
did know that.
Had a lot of
sister
hits.
is my sister is 6 years older than me. I don't remember what year. It's either 87, 88, or 89, but they played Giant Stadium. And I remember my sister was, I mean, this is before the internet, was on the phone hitting redial for Ticketmaster for like 3 hours trying to get those tickets before she finally got through. So yeah, New Kids on the Block was the very first show I saw at Giant Stadium. I think it was 88. It's my estimate. It might be 89. It might be 87. I don't remember which one, but one of those years.
That's a good.
That's great.
My first is a little tricky because growing up where I did, Plant City wasn't too far away, and they had something called the Strawberry Festival. They still have it. But to this day, they get some pretty decent acts. And so we would go, usually my mom would like take us out of school a little early and we'd go and see like concerts there. But I like was kind of too little. I remember, I think one of them was Leanne Rimes, but that was like years later. So I don't really think that was like my first. So the first concert that I can remember being purchased like for me for the intent of like, she was my everything at that time. And I wanted to see her so bad. And my mom like bought me tickets to go see her. And obviously she went with me because I was a child. So I'm going to count my first like official concert, which is at Ruth Eckerd Hall, which is like still to this day, one of my favorite all time venues to see a show. Like if you're ever in the Clearwater area, you should go there. Anywho, not the point. But it was Dina Carter, and I am still obsessed with her to this day, actually. Strawberry Wine was my favorite song when I was little. Didn't understand it clearly until years later what that was about. But there I was in second grade, and my teacher would be like, "What's your favorite song?" I'm like, "Strawberry Wine, Dina Carter." And she probably was like, "Okay, what are you listening to?" But yeah, Dina Carter was like, "Did I shave my legs for this?" Great question, Dina. Did you? Iconic. So that's probably the first one I'm gonna like count because I can't really remember the Strawberry Festival ones that well.
Yo, here's the
yo.
thing though about embarrassing first favorite songs though. Like when
I'm not
you're in like the second grade and there's a cover of Blue Monday by a band named Orgy.
That cover's a banger. That cover is a banger.
Yeah.
Y'all, like
The
some
New Order
people
song?
nowadays will be like
Yeah.
kids and whatever, and I'm like, it's going over their heads. Like my favorite song when I was growing up, I didn't understand until years later. Okay, and then my most recent concert would be my Ginger King, tied of course with Cousin Rob, my other Ginger King, Ed Sheeran in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with my friend Katie, because that's what we do. We like to go see concerts and make it like a trip. We'll go and like go somewhere we've never been.
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Let me tell y'all, the Midwest loves Castle on the Hill. That was their favorite song. I've never seen a crowd get so hyped for Castle on the Hill. And let me tell you, it's a great song. But I was like, oh, this is their Bob. The Midwest loves Castle on the Hill. So since I know most of you live in the Midwest, that's your people's Ed Sheeran song, just so y'all know.
I couldn't tell you, by the way, when I used to like play out more, I couldn't tell you how many times I would have, "You look like Ed Sheeran." Yeah, no shit. No, like, no,
You're like,
no
yeah.
shit. And then I get the
Generic
prince.
white
Which,
ginger boy.
who's the
Feels
redheaded
racist.
prince? The one that's married to Meghan Markle.
Oh, Harry, yeah,
Oh my god,
yeah.
I get that all
Ron
the time.
Weasley, did you get a lot? Like the three of them are pretty much entertaining.
That when those movies were coming out all the
that
fucking
was
time.
that was the thing.
Oh my god.
Don't
Nothing like any of them. That's the funny thing.
Different.
I could see Harry.
I can see Harry. Yeah, Harry I can see, but
That is fantastic. But that's it. Yeah,
Not a-
kids, we don't get it. Juice,
Juice.
what's your first and last?
all right. So my first is definitely my brother's metalcore band. So my brother's like 4 years older than me. So when I was in like 8th grade, he was in, he's like a senior in high school. He joined this band with like older guys. And so there was a huge like metalcore scene like in our town, screaming music, all this stuff. So they got into that. And then, so I got to go tag along being like the young kid at these shows. Where definitely everyone, like even my brother being in high school, was young for this, let alone me, middle schooler tagging along.
Right.
So it was awesome. It was like one of the best, like most fond mememories looking back at like when I got to tag along and go to those concerts. The first time I ever had the feeling like I could die right now and just be happy. Like this concert is so good. Like, so I think my first real concert or like would be probably at like Life Fest, which is like the Christian Summer Fest in Wisconsin, the counter Summer Fest. And I bring this up because I kind of have a funny story, because the one like notable band that like mainstream people would know, you guys all familiar with Skillet?
Yep, they play the one at Universal Studios like every other year.
Oh yeah. So they play a lot. So they're and they're more, rock and stuff. But my brother's band and their like small label they were on, like a bunch of those bands were also playing at Life Fest. And so I was like the one guy of my whole group that was like, you know what? I'm not going to see Skillet. I'm going to support the local bands. And I like put on this huge cruise, like anti-Skillet, like I'm not going to see Skillet. I was like the one guy at the show.
Martyring yourself.
The one that played. But and then recently I went to my third time seeing one of my favorite bands, Camelot. Disappointing. They had a new album come out that was like on par with like, they're one of these bands that's been playing for 30 years, but they just released an album that's on par with like their early stuff, which like never happens,
Right.
especially in metal. And they played like the 3 worst songs from the album. They played like one good one, all the ones I didn't like. So it was a bummer, but
I laugh that you brought up the Scream Core because that is a very 2000s to mid 2000 Midwest thing. A lot of
yeah.
VFW halls, a
Oh
lot
my
of
God. I'm so glad it's over with.
We're not
you
in
big on the
South
Scream Core
Black
scene?
in the Midwest.
There-
I grew up 2.5 hours west of Saddle Creek, sir.
Oh yeah.
There's
I
a
was
lot
talking
of
about
kids
rock.
I knew in high
All
school that were in
Midwesterners
screamo bands.
or
Nice kids.
non-Midwesterners on screen.
A lot of Atticus t-shirts, a lot of clove cigarettes being smoked. Like, yeah, it was definitely.
I like cigarette smell because it brings me back to those concerts, like being a kid, not being around cigarettes much growing up.
Can't relate.
What's a cigarette?
I have a fond. I don't smoke, but I have a fondness.
AJ's not aware.
No,
of the
never heard
old
of them.
but I have a fondness. I can't say that I have that same fondness.
I worked in a bowling alley for a couple of years, so like that after working that, like I became completely
Like
immune
when
to
you
it.
walk into a casino and you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
Casinos can be
Yeah.
a bit much, even if you're like a regular smoker. Like,
Here's the fun fact: I've never been to a casino. I've never stepped foot inside a casino before.
The Static X show I went to last week was at a casino.
Oh, really? That's
Delacommon. I almost said your government name. Let's meet up and go to let's go to the Horseshoe Casino by the Hammond Marina in Hammond,
It's like,
Indiana. Let's go there
please-
this summer. Let's do it.
Please finish
You know what's
your sentence
important
because it
when
sounded real bad.
I'm not. By the way, I'm not a gambler. The most money I've ever spent in a casino was $20, but I just like to go hang out in them every
They're
few
just a
years.
good vibe. It's great people watching. You get free drinks if you sit down at like a penny slot. It's great. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
yeah.
You have no idea what time it is. You like it's wild.
If you ever go to Vegas and you sit down for more than like 10 minutes and aren't offered, like gambling somewhere and aren't offered a free drink, something went wildly wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
quality.
We have a at our work we have one of our plants or whatever is based in Vegas, and my boss was always like, "We're not sending anybody to Vegas," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm the perfect person to send to Vegas because I'm not going to be chilling in casinos like partying and stuff like that." I'm like, man, I'm way too much of an introvert for that. So I've like I said, just never stepped a foot in front of a casino. I'm not a big losing the little money I do have person.
There's a lot of good musical artist slot machines. I'm just saying. I always trust the Dolly Parton machine. I'm like, Dolly, and she sings to you when you win money, and it like makes you happy. It's great. 10 out of 10. Michael Jackson. Pretty much any musical artist I sat at their slot machine. Any like pop culture, like movies, music. If they had I was like Jurassic Park slot machine, let's go. I want this T-Rex to at me. There's a Hangover one, which is appropriate because Vegas. Yeah. I actually did really well on that one.
I was playing the NFL one last week mostly.
And my favorite thing was single deck blackjack. If they have it, they don't care if you're not winning too much money. It's usually low stakes. You just get to sit at the table and walk way up money and get free drinks. So.
Yeah, if you are looking to, if you're somebody who wants to go and just sit at a table for a long time and not necessarily, and you like just get free cocktails, sit at a low stakes blackjack table, just have $100 on you. You could sit at that table for hours.
Mm-hmm.
We need to find one since you mentioned your concert. I said I'll be in if I could get a Powerman 5000 slot machine going. Or one of those bands from that.
I want a Springsteen slot machine called Born to Win.
Nice.
And then we need a Motorhead one called Born to Lose.
It's fantastic.
Get some Ace of Spades video poker going on.
Yeah. I mean,
And have it next to the Ace of Base slot machine.
Ooh, no, we're not doing Nazi shit.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot that they're cancelable now.
No, they were always fascist. It's fine.
So this is kind of a tie-in. Lemmy, legendary Motorhead bassist / singer. He was notorious when he was not on tour that he would sit at the Rainbow in LA and play video poker and drink Jack Daniels all day. Like he had his own stool that if he was not on tour, that was his seat. And if you wanted to meet Lemmy, all you had to do was go to the Rainbow because he was going to be there.
Yeah, that's very on brand for Lemmy. Like you don't nobody hears that story and be like, that doesn't sound like the man I know. And
Man, I saw Motorhead about 2 months before he passed away, and I've seen Motorhead a few times, and it was like the last time was rough because you could tell how bad a shape he was in. The first time I saw them, they might have been the loudest band I ever heard live. Like Motorhead was on a bill. It was Judas Priest, Heaven and Hell, which is Black Sabbath with Dio, Motorhead, and Testament, start to finish. That was the loudest concert I've ever been to. And Motorhead might have actually been louder than the two headliners.
I just think about like when he performed Triple H's theme at I think one of the WrestleManias or whatever, and you couldn't understand him then.
He didn't give it. He didn't even attempt to get the right lyrics.
Yeah.
he just kept saying it's all about the game. And
Yeah,
it's a hilariously bad performance, but it's so Lemmy. It's so Lemmy. I don't give a fuck about anything. That it's lovable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about with that. The guys like that there's something that it's going to be tough to replace some of these legends, like your Lemmy, like your Willie Nelson, even like Snoop is kind of in that category too. Like these larger than life characters that when is the last time we got somebody like that who's endeared for more than 10, 15, 20 years at this point?
I think the next big one is Dylan. When Dylan goes, it's going to be rough. Because I had that stretch of like, that year was rough when we lost Prince and David Bowie, like back to back. That was rough. I think like pretty much Dylan is like the one specter that's out there that I'm just like, please live forever. Please live forever. Please live forever. And the fact that, I mean, him and Van Morrison for me are like the 1 and 2 of like the old timers that I don't want to see go.
I mean, for me, everybody knows it's Billy Joel. Like I will be inconsolable that day.
Yeah, I got a lot. That's the problem. Like Willie, Bob, Bruce, Paul.
Paul's gonna be a big one.
I really will be in mourning. John Williams, I'm gonna like lose my ever loving shit. Truly, I don't want to think about it. Even just saying that.
But even Billy Joel, like I love Billy Joel. Like he's not one of the ones that I know would like totally shatter me. But like I still would be shattered by like Billy Joel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's a long list.
Real quick though, I got to head off for the evening. But the next one, it's gonna be Drake. Good night.
I think the world would be fine.
All right, AJ.
AJ.
Love you, AJ.
All
right, cool. So that's kind of like going back to something on focus, but one of the ideas I had to talk about is like, give me like 2 or 3 albums that like shaped your musical identity.
Jesus Christ, you can't just like casually throw that at people.
I'm ready to go. Like I've kind of been preparing my whole life for these questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're us two are perfectly tuned to answer this question.
I'll go. Yeah, Bethany, I'll go last.
I'm gonna give you a couple. I'm gonna give you a couple here.
Spotify.
I have some definitive answers. When I was very young, I remember for Christmas one year, I asked for 4 cassette tapes, and this is a very funny variety of 4 cassette tapes. I asked for Billy Joel, which was Stormfront, Billy Idol, Rebel Yell, Warrant, Cherry Pie, and Winger. I don't remember the fucking name of that album, but those were the 4 I wanted because the pre-TRL, like top 10 on MTV, those were like the 4 big hits at the time. So that was like, I was watching it, whatever, 4 or 5 in the afternoon it was on. So I wanted all of those. We got our first CD player. The first album I got was Pump by Aerosmith. That was the first CD I owned. The first CD I bought with my own money was Smash by The Offspring. So like that, I actually went to the store and bought myself. I have a weird one though. The really weird one for me is a band you may not have heard of. Their name's Nothing Face. They were a DC. They were kind of metalcore, kind of new metal. They're kind of a tweener band, really. But it's the first album I ever bought. Walking into a store and buying it like unheard just because I saw the cover and was like, "Oh, that looks awesome!" And it was like in the same section, new releases. And the name of the album is just Violence. And the album cover is just 2 eyes that look terrified. I'm like, that looks like it's for me. And I wound up falling in love with the band. So that's one of them. But the other one I wanted to bring up for a really, really weird reason, how I became a Metallica fan is bizarre. So when I was in junior high, they were doing like our talent show and stuff, and they asked me if I wanted to be part of like the production. So I just did like stagehand kind of stuff. So they were doing the rehearsals and stuff, and there was a couple of bands who played, and one of them came out and they played Master of Puppets, and they got told they could not do that because it was too long, because like it was supposed to have like a 5 or 6 minute limit, and Master of Puppets almost 9 minutes. So they play that and they scrap it and they switch to Battery. And they play back, and I had never heard that album before. Like I knew who Metallica was, obviously at this point. This was '97, so the Loads Out and Black Album. Everybody knows all those songs. None of them really hit me that hard. And I hear these two, and my buddy's like, "Yeah, I can't believe they're actually playing Master of Puppets." And I'm like, "So that's what this is." And I went out and bought the album, and then from that point forward, it was full speed ahead metalhead.
Full speed ahead, metalhead. That could be a name of an album, honestly.
Sounds like an Anthrax album.
It does.
It does sound like an album.
All right, let's see. Yeah, we're gonna Juice and I are going last. Whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, Rob.
Here, Rob, you want to go first?
Go ahead, you go first.
I was gonna you kept seeing me kind of like drift over here. I was actually I kind of wish I would have been.
I was grabbing props. How about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say I was like looking. Well, that's my record. Like part of my records is like right here below my desk, so I was gonna pull them out. But
right.
So we talk about this. Actually, it's got brought up on not our last episode that we just did tonight, but the previous one. Jeff Buckley's Grace. I heard that in 8th grade. Blew me away. Forever changed the way I perceive music. Still to this day, my favorite album, favorite artist, favorite record of all time, favorite songs on there. Rob and I have a huge affinity for Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
That album is almost perfect.
Yeah, I got my cassettes out, boys and girls.
Oh, cassettes, wow.
Go ahead. Yeah, Exile on Main
I
Street.
don't think I own any like cassette anymore.
I'm trying to think also, like, because of the time period, this is going to be a strange one. I am a big proponent of the Batman Forever soundtrack. I think it's one of the greatest soundtracks.
I own that.
Because it's still, I have it on vinyl down here somewhere. It was one of those when, that movie came out, I want to say like 95, 96.
Yeah.
So that came out and that had such a diverse like track listing. Fun fact, produced by the RZA Man. Not only that, what else? It had Brandy on it, Massive Attack.
Yep.
The Offspring did a cover of Smash It Up, which is by the band called The Damned, which ended up being my favorite punk band of all time. I found them through The Offspring. That Holy Throw Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me song from U2 is fantastic on it. And then PJ Harvey has a song that's on there. It's called Once More or whatever. And that's not even on any of her regular albums. So I bought the album just for that track. And so that was very important. And then I'm trying to think what other ones. There's probably like Rob and I could go on and on and on about like albums that really shaped us. But also Astral Weeks by Van Morrison. Trying to think the Ready to Die by Notorious B.I.G. Like those sort of type of things. So I'm probably leaving out a bunch of them.
You mentioned the soundtracks too, like Juice gonna love this. Like the Wayne's World 1 and 2 soundtracks, like those were two CDs I listened the hell out of when they came out.
Yeah, I just love that soundtrack.
Yeah, the Crow soundtrack is a fantastic one.
Soundtrack's amazing.
The 90s had between that singles, there was like definitive, even Reality Bites. If you're a big Lisa Loeb fan, there was like a lot of like fantastic.
Do you remember the pretty much forgotten Arnold Schwarzenegger movie End of Days? That had a banger new metal soundtrack. Another one is Queen of the Damned. If you want to hear, that was like all of the metal bands doing their solo projects, like Jonathan Davis from Korn doing his solo stuff, Surge from System, like all of them doing all of their solo stuff. That's a really interesting album to listen to.
The Matrix soundtrack was like that too, where if you like the electronica type,
a lot of remixes.
And then the random Rage Against the Machine song that's on there.
So they had Wake Up was on the first one, and then Reloaded had Calm Like a Bomb.
Nice. I had so that's a concert that I missed out on. So they were supposed to tour
2000. I saw them. Had tickets to the Rhyme and Reason tour with the Beastie Boys that got canceled.
That's exactly what I was about ready to say. I had tickets to them. They were my favorite band growing up.
Mikey got
Like,
into a bicycle accident and
Yep.
broke his shoulder, and they canceled the whole tour.
and then I remember that TRL when they announced that Rage Against the Machine broke up.
TRL, y'all.
Rob?
So I just realized this. I, about 7 years ago, had way too many cassette tapes and was like, whatever can fit in my 2 boxes, I'll keep and I'll pitch the rest. And I pitched some that now I kind of regret that were like personal. So I got all my dad's old cassettes. And he used to record stuff off the radio back in the 80s.
Oh,
so actually, I was looking for my Tracy Chapman mix, but that one ended up in the garbage can like 7 years ago, which is funny because she's kind of popular now again.
Right.
So,
She's having a moment.
yeah, so I could sit here all day and talk about bands and artists that have literally changed my life. Bob, Neil, Bruce, we can go over all that. But I'm gonna stick with like first ones, like because you were saying like a few that really shaped.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, so I got into the Beatles when I was 5. These are the first 2 CDs along with Help, but I don't have the case for it anymore. These are the first 2 CDs along with Help that I ever owned. I got them in kindergarten for Christmas. But before that, my mom's Jeep, both my parents had Jeeps. We would listen to Tracy Chapman's first album, the one that's got Fast Car on it, all the time, and then Hootie and the Blowfish's Cracked Rear View.
That's one of the highest selling albums ever, isn't it? Like
when that record came out, that's like all we listened to in the car. And then like Sting's Mercury Falling, that came out in 96. I remember when my mom bought it or got it like on cassette. So like that was huge. And then obviously the Beatles. And then like right after that, because my parents were like, okay, he's probably too young for the Stones and Dylan and stuff. So like they got me the Beach Boys greatest hits and the Monkees greatest hits.
Love Beach
So
Boys.
like if you can imagine me, kindergarten, first grade, Tracy Chapman, Hootie and the Blowfish, Sting, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and the Monkees. Like that's
Old soul.
and then everything else just came because of that.
He's an old soul at the age of 6 years old.
Oh yeah, no, dude, I was the oldest. I was the oldest fucking kid in kindergarten.
He was like a little boomer man at 6.
I think
I
said
cassettes.
Yeah. I saw the Beach Boys very, very young at Jones Beach. They played their, back in the day, they played their yearly. So I saw them. It was the Beach Boys in America. I was probably like 7 or 8.
Was Brian Wilson still with them at that time?
Yes.
Wow.
This is
like
when,
Kokomo era?
Yes, it's 100%. It was when they were doing Full House. So like when my parents were like, do you want to see the Beach Boys? The band that's always on Full House? Hell yeah.
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 I thought that's how so many of us first discovered.
Oh, yeah.
Like, honestly, thanks, John Stamos. You know what I mean?
That's how I got into it. For sure.
That's
Yeah,
really- that's nice of
Rob
him.
and I-
That's nice of us.
Rob and I talk about this like often because we have very different experiences. Like, yeah, he had that foundational base, but like a lot of stuff that Rob discovered was probably what you say, Rob, like middle school, high school, like
Yeah, definitely
where
on my
the
own.
normal track.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a household where the one great thing was music was never off limits from the beginning. And I'll share this story real quick. And it's one of my favorite stories. It's one of my mom's favorite stories. So I'm in preschool. We had just moved to this new town. And they told us, hey, bring in music. So they're thinking kids are going to bring Itsy Bitsy Spider, whatever. My mom tells a story that she gets a phone call and they're like, we don't want to alarm you. There's nothing wrong, but we wanted to let you know that we think Heath, I just gave up my government name, Della, brought in one of your tapes and we find it a little bit inappropriate. It's not what we're looking for or whatever. And my mom starts laughing. She goes, well, which tape is it? And they go, well, it's Aerosmith's Toys in the Attic. And my mom takes the beat, starts laughing. She goes, no, that's his. So that's what I was like, that's actually his copy. And I will make sure that he doesn't bring it back in. So that's kind of like my experience is like, I didn't have any lead up. It was just always there. Like it was always classic rock. It was always like that stuff was always in the house. So like even from preschool, I'm listening to Toys in the Attic, singing along to No More, No More, one of their random B-sides that they have on that album. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to share that real quick.
Same Delacommon, like my dad, I have a CD collection now because he gave up on CDs like 15 years ago, but like Elton John and Fleetwood Mac and the Temptations, he had all of those albums on CD. So like that's that was just in the house. Roy Orbison's music was just in the house, you know?
Yeah. I have a very similar one, same time frame. My father was a big 80s hair metal fan, like Dr. Feelgood. I listened to repeatedly because my dad was listening to it when he was like, mowing the lawn or doing yard work or whatever. So like Dr. Feelgood, smoking in the boys' room and things like that. I'm 5-6 years old, whatever it was. And there it is.
Right.
Yeah, like my mom tells me stories that she's like, "Oh, I dropped you off to the babysitters," and I then went and saw Guns N' Roses perform "November Rain" for the first time, like ever. And I was like, and we also have a special like Axel and the can't remember what the other one. They're from Dayton, Indiana, Lafayette area. So like my family all went to high school with them and we're friends with them and that sort of stuff. But yeah, my mom would be like, "Oh yeah, I just dropped you off to go to a GNR," and I'm like. Probably 4, and I'm like, you couldn't bring me along? Like, how great would that be? I'm 4 years old and I saw Guns N' Roses live.
Right.
So that's the type of household that we grew up in, which is music everywhere.
And two, there's a glaring omission that I haven't said. I was born in November of 1990. So yes, while all of this stuff was happening, my mom would also, if we were out at a store or something, we had a couple of Disney cassettes.
Oh yeah.
So like the Toy Story soundtrack and the Lion King soundtrack, because again, it's Randy Newman and Elton John. So obviously that's going to be in their wheelhouse. It's in the kids' wheelhouse. And then we had like a Disney's Greatest Hits that had like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, like all those bangers on it, But like that's what we listen to in the car all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, the same for me. My dad was classic rock. My mother she listened to a lot of like Broadway soundtracks or Disney. Like that was also very, very prevalent. It's like all those, everything you just mentioned with the Disney stuff, every single one of those was part of my childhood. And to this day, like actually they bought Bethany for Christmas the Disney 50. 100. That's right.
The vinyl thing, right?
Yeah.
Wait, I was gonna say I think we
showed it on their stream. Yeah. So that I mean, those. If you're a child of
his mother listens to Epcot's Candlelight, which is like a nice like little Christmas concert. She has it on CD and she listens to that every year and she's like decorating the house. Like Disney music is definitely prevalent in the Deacon household.
Heavily prevalent in there.
And I can fit right in with that group for sure with my love for it.
What about yourself?
Which I think honestly like speaking of like growing up listening to Disney soundtracks, like that's like a lot of kids' first introduction to musicals, right?
It is.
And again, you have some of the best. You have your Alan Menkins, your Howard Ashmans, again, Randy Newman. Obviously, you have Phil Collins and Elton John coming in from kind of the more like mainstream music, going in with the show tunes peeps. But yeah, so obviously we did listen to a lot of Disney music growing up, but like I think, and that probably did very much shape me. I mean, being an adult who grew up, a teenager, an adult who loves musicals, like I don't think that happens if I'm not introduced to Disney music. And the fact that we grew up in like the Disney run, like you had all of those, like
100%.
great.
We grew up in one hell of an era. When it comes to the soundtrack, holy crap!
Yeah, like you really can't ask.
And not just Disney, but like you guys were. I heard you guys talking like about Batman Forever and End of Days and like. No bullshit. Like in my formative years, I bought the Joe Dirt soundtrack on CD. Why? It's a Bible to Southern rock. It's got, Skinnerd on there and Joe Walsh and all that, Doobie Brothers. Charlie's Angels soundtrack was like a greatest hits of the 70s. We bought a lot of soundtracks. We
had a ton of soundtracks on CD. Like ton.
Aside from Guardians of the Galaxy, so few movies have steered into the soundtracks lately, which is disappointing.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, I cringed because they're
the only ones doing it.
I have a very bad hot take about the Guardians, and believe me, I caused a flame war in our Discord over my hot takes of the Guardians soundtrack.
Controversy.
Like people came after me. It was really fun.
Well, so regardless if you like it or not, that's one of the only examples of one that's been recent.
People are talking about. So yeah, there's that. Okay, yeah. So going from on the discussion of soundtracks and talking about music that I guess to kind of defines who like what I still listen to and what I am. So again, somehow it always comes back to the Phantom Menace. I love a lot of John Williams. Obviously, John Williams is like my favorite composer of all time, probably one of just my favorite like musical artists of all time. And as far as the compositions go. But growing up, obviously, even though Phantom Menace is not my favorite of his work, although it's fucking phenomenal, don't get me wrong. I again, like, I didn't have a lot of, when I was little, have a lot of say in what like soundtracks we were buying, I guess, because like I was a kid and like I had allowance money and whatnot. But yeah, so obviously growing up, I didn't have much access to things like getting like ET or different things like that, even though I really liked that music, that just wouldn't even cross my mind to like go out and buy. But there was just so much hype around Phantom Menace. And again, like, of course, I remember Duel of the Fates premiering on TRL, like the music, like it was such a big thing. And at that point, like I was, because that's around the time that I became a Star Wars fan, because we watched the original trilogy in preparation for this new one coming out. And everyone else in my family was like, yeah, they're cool, they're whatever. And I was like, this is my life now. Because I don't know how to be normal about things. And so I was like, I want this soundtrack. I wanted everything. I was just soaking up everything. So that's actually the first John Williams like music that I owned, I think. Obviously now we have access to all of it because it's like all on the internet. But at the time, like that was like the first time I'd ever owned any of his stuff. So that was like a really big deal. And obviously, big part of who I am today. I would say, so like the Beatles is so weird because I think we talked about this a little bit on your anniversary stream, actually, how I was introduced them to my 4th grade music teacher. Music in schools, it's important, y'all. And we weren't really listening to like albums per se. Like he was kind of like, talking about their music and showing, so kind of talking about, their career and whatever, but he wasn't like, and we're just gonna like listen to Revolver today, like he wasn't like putting on a full album. So it's always hard for me to be like, oh, like what's the Beatles album that, but I do remember like we discussed Help a lot. And I think it's just because he really liked that one, which is a great album.
Great album.
So I get it. So I would say probably Help, because if I'm like thinking of 4th grade, that probably is the one that Mr. Dunn did. I did do an entire college essay once about Pet Sounds and Revolver, and like the whole like during the time about like the Beach Boys and the Beatles and how they were kind of like one-upping each other and stuff. So like both of those albums have a special place in my heart because I had to do way too much research about them in college. And I still love them. So that just shows, I guess, that they are great albums, that even though I was steeped into it, I still want to listen to them for funsies. So I'd probably say Beatles, I would say Revolver or Help, just because I guess those two I could say are the ones that formed me, even though I mean all of their music.
Which I laugh because with Rob and I, we split that because I am a Revolver guy and he is a Help guy.
I like everything before Rubber. Like, I mean, I like all of it. Don't get me wrong. I love all of it. But like my favorite stuff is everything before Rubber Soul, which was the album before Revolver. And then he's like Revolver onward.
Like, you like it when they get real trippy. You're like, let's get into the experimental shit.
Whenever it gets better.
I'm so weird in which I like some of the weird trippy shit, but then I also like, I love early, like we're just going to write like a good, like, bubblegum pop song, like a good love song or whatever. Like one of my favorite songs is I've Just Seen a Face. And it's so fucking
That was my first favorite Beatles song. Yes, that was my first favorite
This
one.
is why we're family.
Yes.
So like, it's such a simple song. It's so goddamn simple, but I think it is a perfect song. It's perfect, and I love it. But like when people are like talking about their genius, like no one's ever talking about I've Just Seen a Face. It's a fucking great song. It deserves more love.
It would be a encore closer for any other band. You know what I mean? And it's just like 100%. It's just a random album track for the Beatles.
Whatever. Yeah. It's just like track 7. They're like, whatever. But it's a great song. Actually, Paul McCartney did sing. He did sing it. Like, and I was like, oh my God, yay. Because it's like one of my all-time faves.
He played a long time. What was that, 3 years ago? 2 years ago?
Is that right? 3 years ago, I guess.
We saw him 2 or 3 years ago. Paul McCartney played a show. Like it was probably just under 3 hours.
Yeah, that was.
Was it mostly hits? I would assume like just a lot of
some newer stuff, which he acknowledged. He was like, I'm gonna play these ones, and these aren't the ones you want to hear, but we'll get to those soon. Don't worry.
Like
then I'm the one guy in the audience.
He went heavy on Wings early.
Yeah.
Okay. Then he did more of his like
when you get into like the last third of it, because again, it was about a 3-hour show. So like that last hour, he's like, all right, this is what you all came here for. Like I'm giving you the ones you want. Like I'm giving you the hits.
I'm the one
and
guy
we-
in the
we did
crowd
not-
going,
we did not leave
play
disappointed.
Ram album in its entirety.
It was a great album. Yeah.
It is. It's my favorite
You're
of the
like, "Oh,
song.
He was so funny, like a sidetrack. Like they did Live and Let Die, and they did a big pyro display during it. And at the end, he's sitting there at his piano like this because it's all going behind him.
And then my last, oh wait, I'm like getting very invested in PLD's thing. My last album, although I think I don't know how many I've even said now. Some of them are half C's. Okay, I'm counting like Help and Revolver in the same thing. My last one, and this is my most basic, most girly one. But it has to be Fearless, Taylor Swift, because that's the album that made me a Taylor Swift fan. And no fucking shame, she's an icon. And I'm still a bit freaking 16 years ago, and I'm still as big of a fan as I was the first time I heard Love Story. So
When Helen first got her car, she had a Pontiac Sunfire. It was red. It was the same color as my Jeep. And we were a big Jeep family. And
oh my god, cousin Rob, we really are cousins.
So like the first two albums we were totally into. But when Speak Now came out, that was on repeat in her car for well over a year. I've heard, because I'd take her car sometimes because my Jeep got horrible gas mileage, and I'd get in and it'd be Dear John would be playing, and I'd be like, this is incredible, absolutely incredible.
We road tripped all the way from Jacksonville to Baton Rouge, and it was like a week after Speak Now had come out, and I was with two girlfriends who were also like big Taylor Swift fans, and I shit you not, I think we just listened to that album like the entire way to Louisiana. We're like, again, should we listen to it again? We had it down by the end of that trip.
Well, I'm gonna let Juice go, but then I have a funny story to tell. Something being on repeat. Juice, tell your go through yours, but I have a very funny story.
I'm excited to hear Juice because Juice has like very eclectic music.
Juice is the coolest, like when it comes to music, because
he always like says things, and I'm like, I've never heard of these people.
Like I've heard of about maybe a third or a quarter of the stuff that Juice says. I'm usually the only one who knows any of it. So.
Well, I'm going to start off with, so I'm taking the 3 albums I think that influenced my love of my favorite genre of music, which is like the power metal.
The power symphonic metal.
The fast, quick drum beats, singing, or like 80,
high pitched.
80, the high pitched. And so I'm going to throw one out. I want 2 of them are ones that like were my brothers, and then one was mine, or at least the libraries. And that's where I'll start with Pink Floyd.
Woo!
The Wall.
He was tripping.
He was prepping.
He was
I found all 3.
Did you play it backwards and watch The Wizard of Oz?
Oh, I should have. No, so we were a big Rush family. That my dad listened to like Rush all the time. Love Rush. There it is.
Rush once.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So big Rush, and then my dad liked Yes a lot. My brother liked Genesis, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be different. I think I just told this story on our first episode of the Curb Your Enthusiasm.
You did, but tell it again because
I went to we were in Walmart when I was in like a freshman in high school, and I saw a Pink Floyd shirt. I never listened to him, and I bought the shirt because it was just so cool. The design, the triangle, cool colors. And I felt like such a poser. I went to the library and got The Wall and listened, to The Wall all the way through. Like, every time I was driving for like the week or however many weeks I was able to have it, got on my computer, the whole thing. So out of buying a shirt led to a love of Pink Floyd. So we play Pink Floyd a lot in the bar that I work at.
Nice origin story. It's pure.
And then that kind of was the first like more classic rock, more mainstream type like rock band that I got into. Anyways, I'm gonna go number 2. Actually, let's go with this. This got me into my love of fast speed guitar. It's Yngwie Malmsteen's Fire and Ice.
That is the greatest cover art I've ever seen.
And that's Ingve, like about half the size he currently is.
Yeah.
I want
Ingve
that.
now looks like he
Nice
ate.
instead of
by
that,
Ingve.
and then I'll be a poser, but it's fine. That's great. That's iconic.
So I'll cut you off real quick. The music venue I played at regularly when I was in the band in Virginia, he would play there, and they said he was the biggest fucking pain in the ass to deal with.
That's disappointing.
Of course he is.
I bet.
Of course, an artist like that is.
Have you seen that man on his album cover? Of course he is.
So good.
That is fantastic.
That is the coolest. I love the fire and ice font too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
It's great.
It's
so yeah,
perfect.
just amazing, fast, guitar. And he
Fast.
blends it with classical music, so that got me into classical music too. Like, great stuff. But then this one,
I know you have the best answers.
this still remains probably a favorite, if not like all-time favorite album of all time. The first Dream Theater album my brother brought was their 2009 Black Cloud Silver Linings. It is only 6 songs, but is 80 minutes long.
It goes the whole
Yeah.
length of what a traditional CD could hold.
Yeah,
Are they a prog rock band?
yeah, they're prog metal. So
That's the first album without Portnoy, correct?
the last one with Port.
The last one with. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Because he wrote
It's like a whole nother language to me, y'all.
he wrote The Best of Times after his father that had passed, just to like basically like reminiscing, and it's like the greatest like father son song that I know of. I mean, it's like 12 minutes, but
Yeah, I saw them on that tour then. The second to last show before Portnoy left, they were on tour with Iron Maiden. I was at the last show of that tour. Then Dream Theater did one more as an off date, and then Portnoy got kicked out. But they just brought him back like a month ago.
Nice.
If-
Dream
if
Theater was
you-
one of those like weird pockets. They like slipped in before like the rise of like the newer bands of that. So I had friends who would never shut up about Dream Theater, and I'm like, Jesus, can
Dream
I just
Theater
like?
fans are like Snyder Bros.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
if they love Dream Theater, they will not let you know the end about loving Dream Theater.
Yeah.
But if you're unfamiliar with Dream Theater, they only had one song I think I would consider. It wasn't even like a huge mainstream hit. There's a song called "Pull Me Under," which is like as close to a hit that they had. It wasn't like something that was regularly played.
yeah, and I'm not even a big fan of that song.
Yeah,
It's just a little.
It sticks out. Like it's like they wrote that to have a single.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
one of
Yeah,
those songs.
Right, because it's more, be the one you would hear if there was a song on the radio. But yeah, that I think like that, just the technicality. Like I was a drummer in high school before I did like guitar and stuff, and just like that, having like a kind of an understanding of the talent and skill required to play instruments, and like watching videos of all of them playing. They're all like top tier musicians, so pretty great.
So I was going to mention this. You jogged my memory when you talked about listening to the same thing on repeat for a road trip. This predates this became a gag on How I Met Your Mother, but this story actually predates this. So my buddy got an iPod. This is early 2000s, and he had used like LimeWire for most of his music. And
As we all did.
yeah, buddy of his was like, I want to add some music to your iPod before we go on our road trip. And he actually used iTunes. So it erased everything that was from LimeWire. He uploaded one song to the iPod. That song was Africa by Toto. And it was the only song they had to listen to for an entire
It's honestly a great song.
So
Dude,
he
that's
was my best
incredible
man.
song.
He hates the song now. He's the best man at my wedding. When he was about to get up to make his speech, I had the DJ play it, and he had to tell the story.
You gotta bless the rains down in Africa.
Bless the
It
rings. Bless
It's the only song that's rivaled "Don't Stop Believing" for the white people's national anthem.
Yeah,
Like,
We've
like,
had that
yeah.
conversation before.
we do love it.
You
as
give
white
love it
people.
bad names up there.
Yeah.
or Living on a Prayer.
Living-
Those are both up there.
Sweet Home Alabama needs to be a part of that
Yeah.
conversation.
I mean, in the South, people get real hype for that one. That's for sure.
I think Don't
Even
Stop
in the
Believing
Midwest, we
One
get pretty
versus
rowdy.
Sweet Caroline.
Sweet Caroline, some real white people shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We eat it up.
That's a
But
good
if-
episode for a future show, Delacommon. We can have them on and talk about the whitest songs
The
that have
whitest
ever come out of
songs.
music. Yeah.
Ever. I've got
90% of Rob's music. 'Cause we had that wrong running joke. There's a stretch where I'm like, hey, can we do a hip hop show? I can only talk about old white people from the 70s for so long. Like, I have to have some diversity. I'm like in here trying to bring punk bands and stuff like that in, and Rob's like,
boomer dad music, but we gotta talk about
Yeah.
some other things. I always say I have the musical taste of a boomer dad or a 13-year-old girl. There's no in between. Like it's it. That's my two musical genres of choice.
That was like in my Spotify. I had Billie Eilish and like Motley Crue were my top two artists.
It's like 13-year-old girl or boomer dad. That's what I'm listening to. Okay, those are the people.
my
Those
favorite
are, like,
meme genre.
You know what
those-
annoyed me
Oh.
truly is that in my I don't, because I'm not cool and I don't use Spotify. I only use like Apple Music. So Apple Music has its like whatever the fuck they call their
same thing.
their like little year-end wrap.
Yeah.
And it pissed me off because it doesn't count Tom Petty and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers
Right.
as the same artist. It split them into two. So my Tom Petty numbers were not accurate, and it made me very mad. I was like, this is not accurate. So they counted it as like two different artists. And I was like, it's the same effing person.
So I
It's
feel
the
like
same
this-
thing with Jason Isbell in the 400 unit, Bruce Springsteen, and then all of his live stuff is billed under Bruce Springsteen
Right.
and the E Street Band. So my year wrapped is like it's
Yeah.
just like all of that shit. Yeah.
And you're like, dude, it's not. I'm like, I just want it to be in one thing, so I have accurate numbers. What it was.
This was funny. 2 years ago, we were on a road trip and we were just playing some stuff, and I put on the Charlie Brown Christmas soundtrack, and it played like 3 or 4 times, and that wound up in my rap because the songs are not that long, and it played like 3 times. So I'm like, oh well, Vince Guaraldi Trio just entered my top 5.
I have that on vinyl.
My
down
youngest
here
sister's
somewhere
got
as well.
that on vinyl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got that.
I
On
gave
vinyl
it-
over here.
I gave it to her on vinyl for Christmas a couple years
Put
back.
that on.
The silver wrapped one. That's the one I have. Is the
Yeah,
It's
like
we
the
have,
foilish metal.
we have
And
the
I think
green
The
vinyl.
green vinyl.
Ah,
is
the
what
green
we got.
vinyl.
The green vinyl.
Yeah. I think there's like 6 or 7 different colors of that.
There are many.
My favorite vinyl record, I have an original pressing because it was my uncle's records of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road on
Oh,
yellow
nice.
vinyl. It's fucking awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's one thing I like about the current vinyl stuff. Like now you get like, for example, Taylor Swift. There was probably like 12 colors or something like that.
For 1989, I think there was like 6 different colors you could get.
Fuck yeah.
Which also this guy, okay, listen, this was the funniest thing. So there was this, it was Baltimore Ravens fan. So it was when the Chiefs were playing the Ravens. There was this kid like trying to be funny and like get TikTok views and jump on like the hating Taylor Swift bandwagon, like get her off my football screen, whatever. So he made this thing where he like went into Target and bought 1989 on vinyl, and he broke it and was like, "You're not welcome in Baltimore. We're gonna kick your butt." Da, da, da.
You just help
But
their
he
numbers.
because he fucking didn't buy a Taylor Swift album, because he held up a black vinyl. It didn't fucking come on black vinyl. So everyone in the comments was like, "This is fake. I don't know what you just broke, but it wasn't Taylor Swift's 1989 because it did not come on black."
The Swifties
I love
came
the
out of
fact
full
checking.
force on that.
Yeah.
So like it fully backfired on this kid. Like he was like, "Meh," and it just was a bunch of Swifties in the comments being like, fake news. It did not come on black vinyl."
Well, he went viral probably. Or not for reasons.
For
he
the wrong
thought.
reasons, yes.
And we're like,
Yeah.
this idiot. We're like, it had flamingo pink. It was in Sunrise Boulevard yellow. It was tangerine. It had 6 different colors, but one of them was not black.
That's one thing that I'm glad that I didn't go chase that dragon, was the like when I started recollecting vinyls, because of course I had my original set, because when I grew up I had in our household, like I was telling you about the music, we had the big tower that had record on top, tape, and CD all in one thing.
We had
And
something
so I
very
had my
similar.
original collection. But when I started collecting vinyls again, I didn't follow down that like that swift into almost drug addiction of I got to get not just this vinyl, but I need to get this variant and this cut. Like I'm so glad that I just skipped that. It was like, no, I just need the
Same.
actual record.
I typically, if I can get the indie record store one, that's usually the one I go to because I'm helping the store.
Right.
More times than not, that's what I do.
I picked one. I liked the yellow one for 1989, so I picked that one, and I was like, we don't need every color. It's the same album. The same songs on every single one. One color is good. Thank you.
So we've gone just about over an hour. This is a conversation we'll have to continue it in the future, I think, because there's so much more we can dive into. I mean, this could go for days. I think not even just hours, days. This conversation could go.
No Billy Joel conversation. That's what shocks me. We haven't even touched Billy.
Let's end on that because we have to.
We'll have a brief,
We have to.
I say brief, but it'll probably not be brief discussion.
Yeah,
of Billy Joel before we wrap up this evening.
Turn the lights back on. It's the first since the 90s, first fully original since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And second recording of this since 2000. It's the second recording since 2000. That song sounds to me like it belongs on Cold Spring Harbor. Like the song itself goes back that far in terms of the style that it's written in.
I'm going to be honest with you. This might be in my top 10 favorite Billy Joel songs of all time. I have listened to it at nauseum for the last 2 weeks. It's kind of weird because it's a co-write with Freddie Wexler and a couple other people. Right. So that kind of bothers me, because it's it should be if he solely wrote it, blah, 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 blah. But I'm a stickler for that stuff. But Freddie Wexler, he's worked with Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, he's of the now. So it kind of makes sense because Bethany, you know this with Taylor Swift. She writes all them damn lyrics. Right. But the reason that there are all these co-writing song credits is because the producers in today's modern age, which I strongly disagree, have a heavy hand in what'll work for melodies and stuff. So I get it, but it still kind of bothers me. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I take the opposite approach where I look at it, especially this later stage in their career. You can make the same argument about the Rick Rubin, Johnny Cash, which you love.
Sure.
So there's the flip side of that. So to me,
those were a lot of covers. Those were all covers for the most part.
Yeah, but even still, it's whatever gets them across the finish line.
Right.
True.
That's kind of how I look at it with this song. I just recently listened to it because I'm not. We talked about this. I'm not the biggest Billy Joel fan. I think this song in particular is making me re-examine my thoughts on Billy Joel because it's not that I don't Rob and I have talked about it. It's not that I don't love Billy Joel. It's just he isn't as a predominant figure as he should be in my. And what I love about this song is, especially the music video, as weird as it is to a certain degree, the music video was a reminder of he is of that era of old New York. And I think he especially that era gets kind of glossed over. And I think especially with this song, I wrote a big long dissertation about it in our Discord where I just went on and on and on about it. I agree with Rob. This is up there. If this, I don't know if it's his, who knows if it's his final act,
right? Or
if it's his final. It may be leading to the final act, but even if it was a punctuation on the end of his artistic career, what a way to go out on. Damn, that song is great. So I love that. Then I watched the whole Stern interview where he talks about the making of the song, which if you haven't seen that, go see that or go check that out. It's fantastic. It's only 7 minutes long, but it's so compact with information because Stern just prods him to get him to actually admit what the song's about, where it came from, all that stuff. So yeah.
I do love that Billy Joel might be the only songwriter who's fucking hate it. It's a real chore. Not a fan.
Yeah.
I feel most songwriters are I just can't stop. It just comes out of me. It's my therapy. Da 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 da. And Billy Joel's it's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah. We mentioned Paul McCartney earlier, how he's I'm going to play these new songs you want to hear. You go see Billy Joel. He's all right. Well, I played the first two songs. The next song, I have 2 or 3 choices for you. Whichever gets the loudest applause, I'm gonna play. He lets the crowd dictate.
Which I also always love that he's this is from an album that came out in 1973, and everyone hears, and he's shut up, nobody bought it.
Nobody bought it. 73.
It's you don't act like you like it now. Nobody hit that terrible number.
Yeah, during our Beatles show, Rob played a clip of Billy Joel talking about the Beatles. And the whole time I was listening, I'm this guy, at least disposition wise, is like totally in my wheelhouse. I don't know why he's not higher, because like you said, this is something that I would appreciate, his crankiness, his blue collar, and he's also really like best friends with John Mellencamp. So like he's hitting all the boxes that he should be way higher on my list than he is. And this album, or this is not album, the song is definitely making me think back. Okay, maybe I need to revisit and reassess where I have him ranked, because
Go to the early stuff, like
that's my
because this is definitely like a pre-80s Joel sound, 100%. If you go like from before Piano Man, even like that's where you're gonna find where this song would have fit album wise. You're talking his first 3 or 4 albums is where that's the total vibe I got immediately when I heard it.
I do think he's one of those people who I always really liked. I didn't know like a lot of his deeper cuts for a long time. And then obviously when we started dating, and it was like one of our common grounds, and then we went and saw him live. Like, I think that was a big game changer for me. It was like going and seeing him live, and like the way he like tells a story and the way he performs, and just getting to see again, like the whole band and how like everyone has like their little moment to shine and like all of that. Like, I think that gave me like a much greater appreciation than I had like before that.
So there's a lot. Like I say, I'll focus on this song for a second, then going to the music video, which is heavily AI. I mean, there's
right.
I mean, the 90% of this video, maybe even more, is AI, and it's incredible AI. I'm like, there are times where AI can be something incredibly bad, and then you have this that it's like, holy crap, you're taking us through Billy Joel's career and seeing him performing this song at various stages of his life, which I'm like, wow. And that you're talking about this maybe being the punctuation mark. The video gives me that vibe, because the video is like, this is the montage of my career. Like, if this is what he's going out on in terms of new recording ever, I'm fine with it. Like, I didn't think I'd ever hear another new Billy Joel song.
True.
So
100%.
Remember when we willed it into existence, guys?
Yeah, legit a week before when we were talking about Billy Joel.
That was the wildest timing, honestly.
I gotta tell this story. So I wake up one day, I slept in, I wake up and I have two unread messages. One's from PLD and one's from Mike. And both of them are talking about the Billy Joel song and how we literally willed it into existence the day before, whatever the hell it was, on the fundraiser episode. And I'm just like,
it really happened. I swear.
hell yeah.
That was
yeah,
wild.
they announced it and it came out like 4 days later, I think.
So yeah, something like that. Yeah.
They announced it on Friday and it came out on Monday or something like that.
Yeah,
I want to say.
Yeah, it was wild. I think I was the one message I messaged you in our Discord, Mike, where I was just like, what do we have this power? Like, what else can we use for this?
Yeah.
Like, if
all
this
right.
is our weird
So,
superpower.
Who else do we need a new song from?
Yeah. All right, tonight, guys, we're gonna see if we can work this magic again.
I mean, Bruce is due for a new album, so I'm just telling you.
Yeah, but he cranks out enough that
he does. No, yeah, he never left the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
So I'm gonna will into existence Mike D and Adrock. We're gonna get something from two of you. They won't ever do anything ever.
Yeah, I was gonna say
How about the Smiths? What if the Smiths got back together?
Okay.
That would
tomorrow
be crazy.
something could be announced. We'll be like, hot damn.
That's complicated because I love the Smiths, but I hate
an Oasis reunion. Get the Gallagher back together. Let's do it.
Y'all
kid.
are willing an Oasis reunion right here.
The one we might actually get, like legitimately might get soon. I know they're going on tour. We might get something new from AC/DC soon.
Yeah.
Because they've announced European tour dates.
That's fair.
So that's a possibility. I think that's an actual possibility.
We've thrown out enough options, y'all, that one of these is bound to happen.
I'd like Pink Floyd to get back together.
Waters
and Gilmore.
That is definitely a hell freezes over. Like, not even the Eagles would be like, no, that ain't happening. Like,
literally today, though, today as a metalhead, like I was actually kind of pissed off about this one. Like Slayer out of nowhere is announced as a headliner for a couple of festivals after they did this grandiose farewell tour 5 years ago. I'm like, yo, you just cheapened that entire tour.
I saw you post that on Twitter and I was like, yeah, that's really shitty to do. Like, you know.
Capitalism makes criminals of us all. That's
Well,
essentially what I.
Here's the catch. Like now, like normally those festivals, they'd be billed high, but they would not be the headliner. They're the headliner because it's their reunion. You know, it's
Is
like
it the Make It Loud one that I saw floating around?
it's Louder Than Life and
Louder Than
Riot
Life.
Fest.
We are willing for PLD, Queen, and Adam Lambert. Yeah, I'm all right
Ooh,
with
that
that.
would
You are alone in that one. At least I'm not.
I'm fine with
I
it.
mean, I'll listen to it if it comes.
Yeah, I'd listen to it. I would listen to
Leonard
it.
Skinner, one more
Leonard
ride.
Skinner, one more ride.
Leonard Skinner is playing here in Savannah in like 2 weeks.
All 1,800 of them. None of them are original members. But
We
they're
don't have
related.
time for me to get into my Leonard Skinner dissertations. They are the world's greatest cover band of Leonard Skinner. They are not
Yes.
Leonard Skinner.
Yes.
I've seen them before. I think I saw them with 2 actual members of Skinner the last
same.
time I saw them.
I'm not sure who was in my lineup. Who's to say?
I saw him in 2010 with Kid Rock. Thank God they played first because Kid Rock came out. And even in 2010, I was like, no, I'm good, Kid
Not
Rock.
about this.
Nope.
And then I saw him in 2014 co-headline with Bad Company. Bad Company was incredible.
I was at that's when one of the times I saw them was then. I also saw them, I think, a year or 2 beforehand where Bret Michaels' band, not Poison, but Bret Michaels' band opened for them.
Okay.
The only time I ever saw them was at Gator Growl, which is our homecoming and pep rally where we get people to play sometimes.
I did actually see.
And you know what? It was a good show.
They were at Welcome to Rockville 3 years ago now. But they were playing on the far opposite stage right before Metallica. I was at the other stage waiting for Metallica, but they showed them on the video wall, so I did kind of technically see them. But one of the cool moment I had back in 2011, I went to Metallica's 30th anniversary shows in San Francisco, which were at the Fillmore, which is tiny, and they brought everybody and their brother who had ever done anything with them. And they brought Gary Rossington and Jerry Cantrell and everybody who did Tuesday's Gone on the recording, and they all played that live. That was really cool. Jim Martin was there.
No, Dave Mustaine. Was that the one?
No, he was there. No, Mustaine.
Really?
Mustaine played with them. Mustaine did they did 4 nights. The last night, Mustaine did the last 5 songs.
I'm surprised I didn't hear that because that would have been mind blowing. They didn't
I
want
was in that
anything to
crowd
do with
when
each
that
other for
happened.
years.
That's one of the last times I ever moshed. When he came out and they played Motor Breath, I got in the pit.
That's a name.
Motor Breath.
That's a real name. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah. Let's wrap it.
Music.
I saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
You're a jabroni.
Y'all, my all-time favorite song is actually our theme song.
It is pretty dope.